At this point, you should have a rough sketch in place, which we talked about in the last video. If you missed it, then you can go and check it out via the link right here on the screen somewhere. Today, I will cover the first steps of transforming that sketch you made into a map. I start with landmasses and also some words on terraforming your world. A good place to start is with continents, and you will realize that most times fantasy stories are set on a single continent. You can of course add more if you so please, but now continents are essentially tectonic plates which moves around. Either they push apart, creating depth like in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, or the plates are pushing together, creating height like the Himalayan mountain range. With the rough sketch in hand, the one we created in the last video, try to divide your land masses into a number of tectonic plates and then decide how those plates move, either against each other or away from each other. This will allow you to make some further notes on where deep canyons or how high mountains will form, and then you can go ahead and apply those items to your map. When you draw your continent, or several of them if you want, simply start by drawing a single coastline and then work outward and around from that starting point. But just a note on coastlines: they are never straight. They are irregular and they're fractal. And once you're done with that, you should add some small islands just off the coastline here and there. It'll make your map look much more realistic. I also mentioned terraforming in the introduction. Terraforming is essentially the climate of your world. For our purpose of fantasy map making, we need to make it simple and easy to work with. So what you want to do is apply one prevailing wind per region or per continent and decide the direction the prevailing wind or winds will blow across your region. As a general rule of thumb, the prevailing wind should go clockwise in the northern hemisphere and anti-clockwise in the southern hemisphere. What this exercise will tell you is how moist air is carried from the sea and inland until the rising altitude cools it off enough to produce rain. Now, with the notes we created before on where high mountains would form, this is here they come in handy for us, because rain will tend to fall on the side of the mountains where the prevailing wind hits first. This means that on one side of the mountain you will have fertile grounds, whereas on the other side is barren and desolate. Often deserts will form in these rain shadows behind the mountain range. One more thing to add. Figuring out where the equator is on your map will determine where areas of green and possible tropical zones would form. Now, the main driver of weather is the sun, which heats air near the equator more than it does around the poles. Hot air will rise at the equator and flow poleward, and cooler air moves towards the equator in circulation. So decide where your equator is, and then consider that you will often find tropical areas around this place. I'm giving you the basics here, and it'll be enough for you to start creating your map. If you, on the other hand, feel that you would really like to understand further details, or you just want to learn more about this topic, then I have written a book on designing maps. Within that book, you will find some topics and details that I'm not sharing in this video series. I would love to hear if this was useful for you, and also drop a word in the comment section below on what you usually do first when you have a rough sketch in hand and start drawing your map. If this is your first time here, then please make sure to subscribe so you get the next video in the series and much more fantasy content. If you're interested, I would love your support though. You can check out my Patreon page by just clicking the link right here on the screen. For only $1 a month, you will start collecting rewards. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.